Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum. Straight talk about you and your money. Now from the BizTalk studios, here is Gary Kaltbaum.
And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Gary Kaltbaum, your host. Hey, thanks for being with us today. Glad you're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy that you are listening. It is August 15th, 2024. It's Thursday. Hope you're having a good day. Lots to cover. We don't mess around here. Serious talk on everything that affects you. The markets, the economy, jobs, government statistics, the Morlocks in D.C., scams, shams, corruption, you name it, we cover it with no agenda, ulterior motive, or bias. We dare anybody to debate the facts that we say on this show. We tell you when we're stating facts, and we tell you when we're stating our own opinions on those facts. As always, you get to decide. And as you know, a big part of what we're doing on the show as we head into November is we're covering the election with no agenda, ulterior motive, or bias, as we said for a second time. And we mean that. We have no use for either candidate, but it's a binary choice. We certainly would rather have somebody but Trump, but it's a binary choice. And boy, oh boy, on the other side, wow. We'll cover that in a little bit, but first, if you don't get this radio show in your city, we'll post it at GaryK.com. We'll also post it on our Twitter feed, which is now X. And if you don't follow us on X, you should. And if you email us, just be nice. It's not hard to be nice. And just so you do know, all we try to do every day is put our best foot forward. That's all we try to do. And we really don't script the show, but we really have a good idea about what we want to say and how to convey it. We really want to get across to you, the leaders and the laggards, and just what the hell is going on. We know what we've said the day before, the day before that, the day before that, the day before that, so we know how to guide you through that. And that's that. Dow was up 554 today. What? S&P 80. By the way, with 12 seconds to go, the Dow is only up 490 and 60 points in 12 seconds. S&P up 88, NASDAQ 401, NASDAQ 100, 467, transports 186, advanced declines good. I must tell you, new highs picking up, but nothing spectacular. Just tells you how wicked things are. The semiconductor index up a juicy 240. I'll stop there. Let's get into it. July 11th. Oh, by the way, we're going to nail Biden/Harris today a little bit later on the show. And we're going to compare them to Maduro, who's running Venezuela, into the frickin' ground. We'll explain the markets. So we were moseying along into July 11th. Everything was all well and good. We had our tech stocks that we liked, the semiconductors, Microsoft, Nvidia, Meta, a few others. All was well. We're riding up some ETFs also. And then we get to the point of what we call, you never know. You never know. On that day, we came on the show, we acted in kind, we pulled no punches. On that day, we thought the all-important semiconductor index had one of those tops of importance. We had one of those tops of importance on March 8th. And we went through, it took about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks to bottom. The semiconductors went from 52.17 down to 42.88. Not a big drop. Rallied up nicely, all's well and good. We thought on, and we were right. Unbeknownst to us, the semiconductors dropped 28% at the lows last Monday. By the way, we're going to teach you a little lesson that we're teaching ourselves. Remember what we've told you? We've been doing this a very long time, and it's a constant learning experience, and it's a constant remembering the photo album for familiar faces, but sometimes something shows up that you've never seen before. 28% drop in the semis. The last drop was blamed on Japan. The story goes, Japan, who has rigged their markets forever. How do you rig markets? The government buys up all the stocks in Japan, and they have. And they've kept rates at zero in Japan, and they have. And all they did was raise rates a quarter point, and Japanese market dropped 25% before you can say boo. And that started, I believe, on August 1st to Thursday. So August 1st to Thursday and the Friday to that Monday, we had a stiff drop also. In fact, the NASDAQ's high on that Thursday, 17,791 to 15,700, 2,000 points from the high to the low on that Monday. Well, as you know, we were out. We did not experience that. We made judicious calls on what we saw, and we were out. We missed it. We lost a little bit in a couple of ETFs on the way down. We gave a little back, but I remember we sold Microsoft at 453. It's still 420, by the way. Meta we sold, I think, around 530. It dropped to 442. And then earnings came out and gapped up. And then came that Monday, and here's the lesson that we've taught ourselves. The lesson we have taught ourselves. And this one is a big, gigantic, sore thumb photo that goes into the photo album for familiar faces. We don't try to get too technical with you guys because we're doing radio. Not easy. On that morning, the Dow was down 1,200. The NASDAQ was down 1,000. On the open, everybody crapping in their pants. I told you, one of our clients who bought NVIDIA on his own called up to sell it after the drop. And luckily, I can't take an order over text, so I called him and talked him into, just hanging in there for the time being. And he's quite happy right now. But that is indicative of everybody crapping in their pants, causing a big gap to the downside off of Japan. The end of the world's coming. Look out below. But something happened that day. And this is the photo. Don't even have to tell you. You can go see it. The photo is, there is something called the volatility index. And it went moonshot. We explained this to you a couple of times this week already. It went from sitting around up to 65. And when we meant sitting around, it was between 15 and 18. Went to 65 that day. Closed at 38. Volatility measurements, they measure scared. They measure people wetting their pants. Excuse the vernacular, but you get my point. On that same day, throughout all this, the Dow pretty much stayed down. It was down 1,200, finished down 1,000. Still not good. But the most important areas of the market, the ones we worry about most, the NASDAQ 100, and the semiconductors, finished halfway back up. The next day we were up. The next day we were up nicely. And the hook was they sold it off badly. And I must tell you, at the end of that day, which happened to be the Wednesday, I was like, because we thought that Monday was a moment, what we call a volatility washout of the late sellers. On Wednesday, We had not bought anything. At the end of Wednesday, we're thinking, holy, you know what? They may just take this sucker even farther down into the depths of hell. The other part of the equation, the photo. Those indices held right at the longer-term 200-day moving average. If you don't know what that is, you just take any moving average, take the amount of days, add up the closes, divide by those amount of days, and you get smoothed out lines. The 200-day is the longer-term moving average that beneath it, forget it. We're talking going into big bear markets. Up next, we'll tell you what happened next and work you through today. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
Hi, I'm Gary Kaltbaum, host of the nationally syndicated radio show Investor's Edge. We're not just handsome radio people. We manage investors' money for a living, specializing in fee-based discretionary money management. No big commissions, just a fee on the assets that's managed. We also provide a full range of personalized services, including retirement planning, fixed income, and educational needs, all to assist you in achieving your financial goals. Understanding not all individuals have the same needs, we'll carefully evaluate your personal goals to determine a proper investment strategy. If your current approach to investing is not getting you to where you would like to be, call us to make an appointment for a complimentary portfolio review. The number to call is 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. Investment advisory services offered through Kaltbaum Capital Management.
It's time to switch on the integrator units and get the brain cells working.
You're listening to
Hey, this promises to be fun.
Investor's Edge
The last bastion of quality programming.
with Gary Kaltbaum.
It doesn't get better than this.
So, the semiconductors were holding in and around that vital area. That's number one. Number two, the NASDAQ and NASDAQ 100 weren't just holding in and around, but were above it. Meaning on Monday, it held, and we're a little bit above it, showing big defense. But as I said, that Wednesday, I was like, is it possible? Well, strong day Thursday. Little better Friday. Monday, little up. But we came on the show and said, no oomph. OOOMPH, it's our own word. And all that it defines is there some conviction behind this rally? Well, on Tuesday of this week, we had what we told you was something called a follow-through day, a confirmation day. We explain it like this. Every bullish phase the market's ever had has had one. But not every time it's happened is turned into a bullish phase. But we recognized it. But even though it was one of those days, and volume was heavier, it wasn't like, damn, was that strong. It really wasn't. But okay, it still qualified. Well, yesterday, the Dow was up 200 and change. The NASDAQ was flat. No biggie. Today, big day. And volume picked up. And what we have right now, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call outlier. OUTLIE. It's something that just doesn't happen often. It is a 3 days straight down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 days straight up to the levels we came down from. Not the highs. This was from a lower high, but straight up. And it's stunning. And the reason it's stunning because territory covered. And not just strength, and there has been much, but the most brutalized stocks. I'll give you some examples, and this is no great shakes, but you have a Micron semiconductor, went from 157 down to 90. Well, since that Monday, it's 107. It's almost 20% for a bear market technology semiconductor stock. If the weakest are going up 20%, catching my drift? AMD, another weakling, 130 to 147. The high was 227 in March. Catching my drift? Qualcomm. And I'm giving you the close on Monday, not even the low, 148 to 173. But it was 211 4 weeks ago, 230 at the end of June. But it's still an amazing move back up of those semis, and just leave no doubt, it's pretty much everything up to a certain extent. There's still not a new yearly highs, which is great for me, because if this is going to continue, you know what happens. New yearly highs show up, and we get off to the races with a lot of great leading stocks and leading groups. We'll see if that occurs. We're just letting you know, wow, and what's my lesson for myself? What have I already written down in my little, it's not, I guess you can call it a diary, but it's a notebook. On that big Monday reversal day, that we came on the show and said, boy, oh boy, that just felt like a big volatility washout. There was about 10 to 15 stocks that never budged off the highs. Never got going because the market was trashed, but they wouldn't budge. And we always have this thought process, gee, if they can't hit them while the semis are down 28%, I think the NASDAQ was down 16%, what if things get better? Well, guess what those stocks have done? So what I've written down in my little book to remember photo album for those familiar faces, which will add definite returns to whatever I do. Typically, in a real wicked downtrend, I'm not owning anything. But in the case of the combination of that day and these stocks that didn't budge, after that day, the first move off of their little range bound, even if the market ain't going yet, I'm going to probe some. Do you know why? The study of bull and bear markets. And in this latest study that I have done, and we're not talking 3 minutes of study, we have recognized, A, that VIX explosion was going to be a low. We went back to past ones. And B, if it is the low, own those names that did not budge. And by the way, we gave out some of the symbols on this show. So even now, after many a year, we're teaching ourselves, I don't call them tricks. We're not saying new tricks, new strategies to increase our returns. Because there's a couple of names, and I hope you don't mind me not mentioning them, that have really made a nice move from that Tuesday. Excuse me, yes, the Tuesday. And we're not pissed off that we're not in them. You know why? Oh, because we're learning. We're getting better at what we do, even though we consider ourselves pretty good. But we're in recognition that, yeah, we're onto something there also. So, just giving you in real time, lesson time, how we look at things. Tomorrow's another day. Market's overbought. Stretched and extended to the upside now near term. But one would suggest until we're able to come back on this show and say to you, sellers now have the upper hand in a big way. We suspect not the lows of that Monday, not the midpoint of that Monday. We suspect the lows higher than those lows going to hold. We think risk is down here. Up next, we'll explain more. And then Biden-Harris. We won't hold back. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
You're listening to
America is talking.
Investor's Edge.
He's got to be pleased with that. The crowd is just on its feet here. He's a Cinderella boy.
With Gary Kaltbaum.
Comes highly recommended. You're going to feel better if you talk to him.
So welcome once again to Investor's Edge. And basically what that means is I think the S&P, as I think in the near term, probably has 3% risk, near term. I'm not talking about 9 months from now. Just based on what I'm seeing. And it's probably stupid to say, you know why? We just V-shaped up. But that's my guess. We'll see how it goes. The S&P is back above the 50-day moving average today. The Dow did it yesterday and got a little more today. The NASDAQ finished right on it. So let me make sure that NASDAQ 50-day 17,576, a little smidge above the 50-day. And the NASDAQ 100, a little bit above also. V-shaped from this last time down. Unbelievable. The Russell, I don't even know how to describe what it looks like, to be honest with you. The transports, nothing going on there. In fact, the transports were much stronger early in the day and came in. The what else do I got for you? The oils, you know what is, right? Steel, metals and mining, the regional banks had an update today, need work. Not impressed. The banks, financials, nice little run-up back towards the recent highs, but not the banks as a whole. There is the KBE, which is banks, and there's the XLF, which is other financials. The KBE does not act as well. So as we're saying, it ain't going to be everything. But the most, I have to tell you, as somebody, the move in the semis, from the last high, not the high of 59.31, we went from 5,200 to a low of 4,300 in 3 days. Closed at 45.20. We're 51.73 8 days later. Still down from 59.31. This one will go in the archives. Wow. Now, the news today was retail numbers were better than expected, but I don't believe them. Bull crap. Don't tell me a government statistic. I'm out there. And do not forget, inflation is part of the retail numbers. But it doesn't matter to me why. Remember, we don't rationalize moves in markets. We've seen bad news bought up. We've seen good news sold down. Are you ready for this? Deere. You know what Deere is. Deere, Caterpillar, and all them. The stock was up $22 today. 6%. On a 38% drop in earnings and a 17% drop in sales, that is the fourth quarter of big deceleration in their business. But it was up $22 today. Cisco Systems, Cisco, the old, great stock from the 90s and 80s, was up $3 today to 48 and change, 6% plus also. Earnings were down 24, revenue was down 10%, more deceleration of their numbers. Crappy numbers bought up on those two names. So again, we don't rationalize. We'll let the market dictate, and dang. And we get emails today, were you surprised by this move? Hell yes. But our job is to interpret, and we are going backwards to that Monday, and what we try to do is go back. Did we ever have any thought of doing anything that day, knowing the VIX had spiked, volatility, people were crapping in their pants? I did say wet pants before. Okay, sorry about that. And you finished halfway in the NASDAQ 100, and the end of the world was coming? No, I never really thought about adding anything that day. And again, on that Wednesday, when we finished at the lows that day, I was thinking, oh, heck, oh, my goodness. But that resolved itself the next day. 2 days of nothingness, and then the big confirmation day. And 2 days later, another boom to the upside. Again, tomorrow, I don't have a clue. Don't care. We'll worry about it overnight. I'll do my scans, see where they are. I do know where everything is already. I do know where the leaders are. I do know where the laggards are because we scan throughout the day. But wow. I was asked 300 times about NVIDIA in the last 2 days. They didn't ask me 2 weeks ago. It's back up to 122, down from 140. Hit 90 on that Monday. Wow. Stunning. Stunning. In other news, just letting you know, I was diagnosed with olecranon elbow bursitis. Out of nowhere, and I do a lot of tricep work. I'm a beast. My right elbow, little golf ball on it. The hell is this? And you can, it moves around and stuff. Like, what the hell is this? And then I felt my left elbow, there's a little one there, and then it kept growing to almost golf ball size. What the hell is this? So I Googled the words golf balls on my elbows, and up came olecranon bursitis. But I thought it was just one of these, lipomas. Until one of the doctors out there emailed me, then a bunch of others emailed me, so I went to see and got diagnosed today, yeah. And he asked me, what do you do? And I explained the tricep work, and he goes, nah, it didn't come from that. You're telling me lifting 60-pound dumbbells overhead for triceps? No, that didn't cause it. How do you work during the day? And I explained. I stand up. I have 4 screens, and I have my arms rested against, whatever, and I scan, I press buttons and stuff like that. He goes, are you like that all the time? I go, well, throughout the day. Huh. So your elbows are, not down to your sides, they're up halfway. Yeah. He goes, that's what does it. He goes, do you rub against anything? I said, no. He goes, well, I'm just telling you that's what does it. Here's what you need to do. That little thing where you have your tray and you're pressing buttons, lower it. Keep your arms down to your side. Wear elbow pads. I got 2 elbow pads on right now. Ice it 2 to 3 times a week. We're going to take your blood for the uric acid just to make sure it's not gout, but you have no pain and you have nothing else anywhere else, so we doubt it's gout. Just letting you know. Getting old. It's amazing. Think about it. I'm in shape. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I had back spasms for 6 months that I would be bent over almost crying. They went away because I'm the king of stretching twice a day. And I got golf balls on my elbows. Age. It sucks. But let me tell you something. Soon as I'm ready to work out again, I'm going right back at it again. And I taken his advice. I now have my arms by my side, and now when I scan, it's pretty much at my hip, and my arms are down. He thinks that give it 4 or 5 weeks, it'll be out of here. If not, maybe he'll drain it one time, but they don't like draining because sometimes it comes back. But it's so noticeable. Darn! All right. That's that for my elbow bursitis. In other news, Warren Buffett took a position in Ulta Salon. This stock has been murdered over a period of time, and the stock was up $36 today to $365. It was down from $574. What's interesting is I don't know what he likes about it, because deceleration of sales and earnings also, but he loves companies that, yeah, actually this doesn't really fit what I've seen in Buffett, but he did that. I will tell you that Nike's also been a bear market stock, and Bill Ackman took a position in that, so that moved up a little bit, but not as much as Ulta Salon. So there's a little bit of that going on. How's that for you? That was in the news, and that sticks out. And I must tell you, know who Greg Kinn is from the Greg Kinn Band? They don't ride them like that anymore. This was one of those hits from many years ago that you never got out of your head. He died at 75. Dementia, they're saying. Damn, we're getting old. The Greg Kinn Band, big MTV. Used to play a song like every hour for a very long time. Haven't heard the name in ages, but it was one of those songs. You don't want me to sing it, do you? Okay, I won't. Up next, Biden-Harris, or Harris-Biden. Are we heading towards Venezuela? I'll explain. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
You're listening to
What are we waiting for?
Well, what are you waiting for?
1, 2, ready, go.
Action!
Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum.
So, I don't think we're ever going to turn into Venezuela. Hugo Chavez took it over, and in the name of companies were screwing them, they took over businesses and destroyed the economy, bought out the military, destroyed the country. Then this Yutz Maduro took over when Hugo Chavez thankfully died of cancer. I shouldn't do that, right? As bad as the guy is. But he murdered people. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. So this guy Maduro took it over, and same thing. I don't know if you know this, but I'm pretty sure Venezuela has the most oil reserves in the world, and they destroyed that. They destroyed the whole industry. They just did an election to run the joint, and they stole the election big time. He lost by miles, and they just stole it. Military stomped on people, murdered people in the streets. They own all the industries. They've destroyed it. And they started with 1, 2, 3, 4. And people are fleeing Venezuela like there's no tomorrow. Oh, they're coming here. So as I have said to you, I believe Joe Biden is left of Bernie Sanders. That he's a lion sack. He has marketed himself as a moderate his whole life, and as soon as he got real power, he's left of Bernie Sanders. And how do we know this? Rules, regulations, fees, fines, mandates, tax proposals, debt deficits, giveaways, the whole works. He did the whole matzo ball. But I must tell you, the rhetoric and the proposals out of Harris is making Biden look like Reagan. We're not making this up when I'm about to tell you something. Vice President Harris intends to announce a plan to prevent corporations in the food and grocery industries from unfairly jacking up prices on consumers by imposing the first ever federal ban on corporate price gouging in these industries. They're going to want to have federal oversight and control over what companies charge. And you must know if they're going to start with food and groceries, they're going to go everywhere. That will just destroy the economy. It'll destroy business, it'll destroy markets, it'll destroy jobs, it'll destroy everything. Do you know how we know this? What do we tell you here about photo album and familiar faces? Every country that has tried this has destroyed the economies. Every one of them. Why? Because A, price controls don't work. B, these people in government have never been in business and they think they can run them. So here, the first policies coming out of this woman is to control the means. And it all sounds good. That's what they're great at, Marxists. It all sounds good. We're going to make sure they can't raise prices. But what if, to produce that food, get that food, move that food, wrap that food, put the food on the shelves, and then sell that food? What if that cost is higher what they are demanding they charge? They go out of business. There goes your businesses. There goes your government takeovers. There goes your Venezuelas. She's insane. She's a Marxist. This is the definition of Marxism. In the first 100 days, she would also grant authority for the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, and the state attorneys general to investigate and issue harsh penalties on big corporations that choose to break these rules to make a quick buck at Americans' expense. In other words, corporations in the free economy, the free markets, cannot charge what they want to charge. Government will demand what they can charge. How is that going to work? Ladies and gentlemen, A, she could not last 3 minutes in an interview with me. B, if she gets away with this and gets the House and the Senate and gets away with this, destruction of the economy, easily. Not even, you don't even have to do a reach. In a normal world, it would be a landslide for her to lose. But unfortunately, Trump is stepping all over his feet again, saying things he shouldn't. And the poll numbers are working against him at this juncture. I'm hearing his advisors are all over him to shut up and just talk economy. I'm contemplating getting a hold of him, and I can, and just say, dude, do you want to lose? Because there is a great way to win. Just show the list of prices over the last 4 years. Show video of Afghani women in the dark ages. Show the debt and deficits, though Trump sucked on them also. But this guy's worse. Amongst other things. And tie their hands to it. Because Vice President Harris can't walk away from the last 3.5 years of massive inflation, massive debt, massive deficits. The border. 10 million people here. It should be a gimme. It should be a gimme. It was noted today that in New York, the cost to take care of the migrants, $5 billion. already spent. That could have gone towards the homeless or the potholes. You ever see the potholes in New York City? You get my point. We'll keep covering it. I got news for you. They're making it quite easy for me. Hey, tomorrow is Friday, right? I should be on with Neil Cavuto, noon hour, Fox Business. Check that out. Until then, me and my elbows have to say to you, have a great evening, drive carefully. And when you get home, do like we do. Quite simple. Make sure you hug your family. Make sure you hug your children. They will feel better. You will feel better, I promise. Again, thanks for joining. Hopefully continued better days ahead in the markets. Peace out, all. Stay well, be well. Bye-bye.
This has been Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum on BizTalk. To listen to past episodes or to get in contact with Gary, go to GaryK.com. That's GaryK.com.